Good morning. My name is Peter. I'm one of the disciples of Jesus, and I've been following Jesus for many years now. At the start, it was kind of quite clear cut. He came past the nets while we were fishing, where we were mending the nets, and he invited us to follow him, and my brother and I, who had some contact with him before, said, okay. And we followed him around Palestine, and we listened to him talk, and the things that he said were mind-bending, kind of stretching your head in all sorts of ways. We understood, or we heard things about God and the way God is and the way God works that were different, subtly different, but profoundly different from what we'd inherited from our parents as we grew up. And so we followed him round, and we saw these stories, we saw him do miracles, and it was amazing. And then, almost out of nowhere, he sent us out to do the talking and the miracles ourselves. Not so much miracles, more the talking and the listening. And he sent us out ahead of him. That was really strange, because suddenly we found ourselves being expected to do this stuff. Rather than to sit on the edge and just watch him, we found ourselves expected to get involved. And to take the lead in some ways, and we did it. You can read about it in Matthew 10, and we came back, and there was a long conversation, and some of us were kind of blown away by what had happened, and some of us were a bit freaked out by it, but all kinds of reactions amongst us as disciples. But then there was soon after that, there was a kind of shift, if you like, in the way that Jesus expected us to behave. We were on the bank of a hillside, on the side of a hillside. Thousands of people, 5,000-10,000 people all together on the hillside listening to Jesus speak, and the realisation dawned on one of us that actually we were a long way from food and it was getting late. We ended up with a small packed lunch that one of the kids had brought with him that was offered to us. And anyway, long story short, Jesus started breaking this bread and handing it to us, and then we took it and handed it to the crowds. But somehow in that process the bread magnified, the bread got more. So what should have fed one small boy, two at a pinch, fed 5,000 blokes and women and children as well. The odd thing was, it kind of wasn't just Jesus doing it. Somehow as he divided the bread, there seemed to be more, and then as he gave us the bread and we divided it and gave it out, it got more again. We were involved in a miracle. It was just odd. And afterwards we were kind of dumbstruck by the process. Somehow we'd gone from just watching Jesus from a distance to talking about him without him there, and taking the lead in communities around, and now suddenly amazing things were happening in our hands, through our hands as well. And then a bit later than after that, we were sailing back. In fact, in Matthew it's in the same chapter. We were sailing back across the Lake of Galilee, and Jesus came to us on the water, and it was scary because we thought it was a ghost or something, and everybody screamed and shouted, and really as a kind of act of bravado, really, I said, when Jesus said it's me, I said, well, if it's really you, let me join you. And Jesus said, come. And I thought, what have I done? What? But I did. Something in me said you could do this, and I stepped out of the boat, and I felt water that was solid. It's just weird. I can't explain it, but I walked for a few steps on water, and then I could see all the wind and the waves and the stuff around me, and I blew my mind, and I began to sink, and Jesus grabbed my hand. The thing I want to get across to you, I think, is that journey. There's lots more to tell about. There's lots more things that happened, and top of the mountain seeing him transfigured, and denying him in his court trial, and then being given breakfast and commission, loads of stuff. But the thing I want to share with you this morning is that journey from being aware of Jesus and following him, to being complicit, active, involved in doing amazing things with him, was a journey. It didn't just end with me sitting listening to him and having my brain stretched. I had to become involved in doing something, I guess you'd call it mission, but going out and talking to people. I had to be involved in the miracle of the loaves and the fishes. And I had to take the step of getting out of the boat and walking on water. And so when, a little after that, Jesus took us to the source of the River Jordan and said, "Who do people say that I am?" I was able to say, "You are the Christ." Not just because I mentally thought it, intellectually thought it. I could have said that when I started, after I followed the boat, after he called me with the fishing nets. But to really know what that meant involved all the other steps of that journey. And so I guess the message I want to share with you this morning from that experience of me is, as COVID finishes and you step outside the limitations of Zoom and all the things that have limited our world for so long, you need to hear this idea, this calling of Jesus to step out of the boat. I don't know what that means in your world. I don't know how that figures. But I do know that this Jesus that I walked with all those years ago, and this Jesus that you worship now, wants you to hand out the bread that he's broken. He wants you to step out of the boat in which you feel safe. He wants you to be able to say, deep in the centre of who you are the Christ, the Son of God. And he wants you to know that you are commissioned to feed his sheep. Thanks for listening.